then I guess we'll all have to consider our options.
Which means, which would mean what? I mean, no, I'm just, theoretically, I'm just trying to understand what happens post the 23rd if there is no, I mean, if the court does not agree to what you're asking.
No, see, like I am for Vodafone Idea, we'll have to take, because it's an existential issue. So they'll have to take a call on that. The management will have to take a call on what they do. I can't comment on that at the moment.
Okay. No, the management will have to take a call, but if you know, have you, I'm sure you've had a discussion with your client in terms of what happens post the 23rd if there is no relief at all.
Right now, I don't want to say anything on that, Ishan.
Okay.
So right now, I don't want to comment on that.
Okay. All right. Shelly, thanks very much for patiently answering all those questions. Appreciate your time here and making it, you know, very clear what this application is really about. So Ashmit's story being confirmed by the lawyer for Vodafone Idea, one of the lawyers for Vodafone Idea, Shelly Bhasin, essentially saying that the application which telcos have moved before the court, you know, is requesting the court to allow the telcos to sit down with the DOT and work out a payment plan. Two important clarifications. One, you know, if the court, so they're listing they're filing the application today. The matter, you know, Shelly said could be heard in a day or two. There's not that much time left. But if the court says yes, you know, what is essentially going to be worked out is the ambit of the payment plan and not exactly the figures which have been, you know, the broad structure of what the court has said needs to be paid does not change. So this is how the payment has to be made and whether there is, I mean, the court deems it okay that the telcos negotiate with the DOT that payment plan. The second point is that, you know, if the court says yes, then they will get time to do the negotiation itself. So that the 23rd does not become a hard deadline in terms of making that payment. So, and of course, I mean, you heard her saying that she does not want to discuss what happens if, at this point, to discuss what happens if there is no relief from the court, even in terms of discussing a payment plan with the DOT, then each management will have to take a decision based on their own business interests. And it's an existential issue for some, as she pointed out. So that's clarity which is coming through on a very important matter, which is not just implications for the telcos, but I mean the broader market, banks, and I think in the economy as well in more ways than one.
From a bank perspective also, it will in fact be important because if they do miss this deadline on Jan 23rd in terms of a payment, then how exactly will it be classified 90 days on would be important for banks, and whether or not there will be increased provisions that they would probably take for a couple of the pending banks this quarter itself. So important details coming in there. As of now, Bharti Airtel has moved up around 1% We have Vodafone Idea, which is in fact reacting positively the most, up around 5% Take a break and we'll be back with more. Stay tuned.
A market leader in facility management.
SIS. ठंडी चाय? हमारे पास बादाम है, किशमिश है, काजू है, अखरोट है. तुम्हारे पास क्या है? मेरे पास सेलो है. गर्मा गर्म चाय.
सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील की थर्मोसील टेक्नोलॉजी रखे गरम को गरम और ठंडे को ठंडा 24 घंटे.
ये ठंडा भी रखता है? ठंडा लस्सी पिएगा?
सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील फ्लास्क रखे गरम या ठंडा 24 घंटे.
Nissan Kicks first anniversary celebration. Enjoy the celebration with benefits up to rupees 1.5 lakhs. Visit your nearest Nissan dealer today.
New Fiyama hand washes. They don't just clean your hands. They make them happy too. New Fiyama hand washes with nature's goodness.
हितेश, इन्वेस्टमेंट्स और लाइफ में क्या कॉमन है?
कभी गाड़ी बंद, कभी फुल स्पीड, कभी विन, कभी लूज. इट्स ओके. अप्स एंड डाउन्स होते हैं. लाइफ है.
लोग लाइफ से नहीं डरते तो इन्वेस्टमेंट से क्यों?
हाँ, ये तो सोचा ही नहीं था.
अप हो या डाउन, SIP है. मार्केट डाउन तो you get ज्यादा यूनिट्स और अप तो ज्यादा वैल्यू पर यूनिट. लाइफ या म्यूचुअल फंड्स, जीत के लिए डटे रहो. आदित्य बिरला सन लाइफ म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टर एजुकेशन. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
If you don't open up to me, how can I help you?
Just because your car can't complain, don't ignore its engine stress. Castrol Magnatec with dual lock molecules protects your engine from warm-up and stop-start wear. Castrol Magnatec, non-stop protection from every start.
Welcome back. Siddharth Vora of Prabhudas Lilladher is now joining us. We're discussing this broad theme of mid-caps and small caps and whether the interest is going to last. We got you an expert from ICICI Securities last week, and today we have Siddharth Vora of Prabhudas Lilladher, who's come out with an interesting report which tries to look at past multi-baggers, stocks which have been multi-baggers in the past, and looking at whether they can repeat the success. As the old saying goes, I mean, not the old saying, but the commonly used saying goes, the new HDFC Bank is the old HDFC Bank. So I think Siddharth has taken inspiration from that and more. It's all quant based, so he's looking at various parameters for the purpose of identifying some 30-odd stocks that he's put out in this report. He's looking at only micro, small and mid-cap companies. If you can have the graphics up. So, very small stocks he's looking at, listed for the last 10 years at least. Stocks whose market cap went up at least 5 times in the last 10 years. Companies trading at least 35% below their all-time high prices. And there are a whole host of financial conditions, profitability conditions, return ratio conditions, which these stocks must meet, which will keep flashing on your screen. Let me throw it over to Siddharth to explain this to us a bit more. Siddharth, morning, take it away.
So firstly, we wanted to make sure that we focus on the right segment of the market. As you know, with the large cap rally and the flight to safety and the flight to quality, some of the mid cap peers have either been punished hard or not performed as well for no major change on the fundamental performance. So we also wanted to know that as the economy goes from a slowdown to a slight recovery. So according to our macro meter, it suggests that the rate of slowdown in the economy is currently decelerated. So now as we go through a recovery cycle, hopefully which we will, historically mid caps and small caps have outperformed large caps during the recovery period. So it was very important to first identify where to focus on, and hence we arrived at the mid cap, small cap universe. Then we also wanted to make sure that the listing tenure is, significant. So we have a broad idea of how these companies have performed over a longer term and what are the business characteristics and management competence on a decade basis. And obviously growth, the long-term growth story must be intact. So we ensure that, the latest sales, EBITDA and PAT are at least 3 times that of what it was in 2009. And this was to ensure that over a longer term, the company's business models have been able to scale up, have been able to increase the size of their operations and penetrate markets deeply. More than that, cash flow is king, as everybody says. So we wanted to ensure that if they are earning 100 rupees in profit, at least 40 rupees goes back to them as operating cash flow.
Siddharth, just one point. Sorry, sure. We've got the criteria flashing on the screen, so we are showing all of it. Just one point. What is the market cap criteria? Companies, and how many companies did you start with?
Started with all the listed companies below 20,000 crores.
This year is expected to probably be a year where the mid caps and the small caps recover. Within this entire list, have you narrowed down into companies which you would probably be focusing on or recommending to your clients?
So, as a disclaimer, we could be owning one or more of the stocks. And the idea is still to focus on the framework and the model, and the qualitative research side can deep dive into which particular stocks they like out of this universe. It'll be out of my scope to discuss about it. But if I take you through the broad performance of this framework, on a 1 month and 3 month basis, it's outperformed its mid cap index benchmark and small cap index benchmark by a significant margin. If you could just maybe flash the returns of how this model has performed in the last 3 months.
Okay, sure, fair enough. We'll do that, Siddharth. So basically, you're saying that y'all are betting on all of these stocks, from the Balkrishnas of the world to the Canfin Homes to the Ajanta Pharmas, going into this year. Though it's out of your scope, that's basically what you would be recommending, because we can pull that up.
Yes, we would, and especially from a sectoral basis, auto ancillary looks interesting because it's got a lot going in that sector from a on-ground perspective and a quant perspective. As you would know, as the PV cycle and CV cycle, two-wheeler cycle revives, capacity utilization will go up, OEM order cycle will increase, and all the auto ancillary companies are focusing on increasing content per vehicle. And over and above that, localization is really, come into play with the auto ancillary companies due to much lower cost of production compared to the international peers. So even the export side of it looks interesting. So if you see, 11 out of these 30 stocks are from the auto ancillary sector. And if I can just pull the numbers up quickly, it's returned 29% or 30 odd percent in 3 months versus the Nifty Auto Index of 6.5% return. So I think broadly, using some of these parameters, we can arrive at a universe of stocks that can help us, generate some alpha.
Okay, all right, Siddharth, thanks very much for joining in and giving us that perspective. So that is the opinion coming in from Prabhudas Leeladhar on their report with regards to mid-caps and small caps. For the markets, still under pressure. Mid-caps have recovered from the day's lows, so do watch out for that, down around 0.2% at this point in time. The intraday chart should tell you more. We'll take a break, but here's something that you, our viewers, must take note of. Here are some key investing do's and don'ts. Investors should always deal with the market intermediaries registered with SEBI and stock exchange. Investors should not execute any documents with an intermediary without fully understanding its terms and conditions. Investors should always insist on contract notes from their broker. In case of doubt with regards to a transaction, verify genuineness on the BSE website. Investors should not deal based on rumors or tips.
A market leader in cash logistics.
SIS. Hello, MG. Open sunroof.
Pardon?
When's the last time anyone said that to you? Please open sunroof. MG Hector. It's a human thing.
I have a little dream, and by my side is my team.
Open the file.
I can go far and wide when I have a friend by my side. I can reach for the sky without any fear. Where I see my future is bright and near.
Tap to pay with Visa. Just like that. No PIN or signature required up to ₹2,000.
IMTEX Forming 2020, the international exhibition on metal forming machine tools. Over 500 exhibitors from more than 22 countries displaying live machines. Special pavilions on additive manufacturing and Industry 4.0. Visit IMTEX Forming from 23rd to 28th January 2020 at BIEC Bengaluru.
ठंडी चाय? हमारे पास बादाम है, किशमिश है, काजू है, अखरोट है। तुम्हारे पास क्या है? मेरे पास सेलो है। गर्मा गर्म चाय।
सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील की थर्मोसील टेक्नोलॉजी रखे गरम को गरम और ठंडे को ठंडा 24 घंटे। सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील फ्लास्क।
Check out, please.
Rupees 3,520 for your single room, sir.
Rupees 2,720 for your single room.
What?
If you use Trivago, you can scan hotel deals from major booking sites, so you can find a better deal for your hotel room. Try Trivago next time. Hotel Trivago.
कौन से म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करें या फिर कौन सा शेयर खरीदें? कंफ्यूज्ड? मैं तो क्लियर हूं, क्योंकि मेरे पीछे SMC.
SMC. Money wise, be wise. Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
तुम मुझे खून दो, मैं तुम्हें आजादी दूंगा. आजाद हिंद फौज का नारा बन गया.
असली इंडियन आर्मी यहाँ तैयार हो रही है और अपने मुल्क के लिए लड़ने के लिए पूरी तरह से तैयार है.
एक दिन हिंदुस्तान हमारी इस कुर्बानी को याद रखेगा. शायद समझ नहीं पाएगा, पर याद जरूर करेगा.
Watch The Forgotten Army, only on Amazon Prime Video.
Nissan Kicks first anniversary celebration. Enjoy the celebration with benefits up to rupees 1.5 lakhs. Visit your nearest Nissan dealer today.
Welcome back. Well, like we mentioned, there has been quite a rapid recovery which is taking place in the mid-cap space. So let's see whether or not it actually manages to move into the green. We have an advanced decline ratio. Maybe the ratio should come up. It started on a weaker note, or it was on a weaker note when we started the show. It seems as though there's maybe some improvement. Like you can see, the BSE small cap index is probably just about 11 points away from moving into the green. So that's the update on the markets. The Nifty is still under pressure, down around 55 odd points. It's a wrap on trading hours. Stay tuned. Halftime report just after a short break.
Brought to you by Motilal Oswal. Think equity, think Motilal Oswal. And DBS Bank. Live more, bank less.
A market leader in integrated security solutions. SIS.
मेरे पास सेलो है, गर्मा गर्म चाय.
सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील की थर्मोसील टेक्नोलॉजी रखे गरम को गरम और ठंडे को ठंडा 24 घंटे. सेलो वैक्यूम स्टील फ्लास्क.
Have you noticed any trade transaction not done by you or not authorized by you? Well, in such cases, immediately ask your broker to investigate such trade or suspicious transactions. You may also temporarily freeze your account during this investigation. An alert and vigilant investor is always well equipped to detect an unauthorized trade and take remedial action.
NSE द्वारा निवेशकों के हित में जारी.
Engage Lamont. Luxury fragrances crafted for love.
मुझसे नहीं होगा, मैं जा रहा हूँ.
अरे अरे, रिलैक्स, सेफ है यार.
जब ध्यान सेफ्टी पर हो ना, तो उतार चढ़ाव का डर नहीं रहा. ICICI प्रूडेंशियल बैलेंस्ड एडवांटेज फंड मार्केट के हिसाब से इक्विटी और डेट में इन्वेस्ट करें ताकि आपको मिल सके बेहतर रिटर्न्स. अब उतार चढ़ाव का डर छोड़ो.
फिर से चले.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Celebrate the new year with amazing offers. Visit the nearest Datsun dealership now.
Grabbing the eyeballs of India's business community since 1999. CNBC TV 18, India's #1 English business news channel. Will Budget 2020 drive big bang growth? Launch big-ticket reforms? And power up the economy? Decode India's most important fiscal policy with the budget specialists. Budget 2020, Going for Growth on CNBC TV 18, India's budget headquarters. This is TV 18 and you're watching CNBC TV 18.
Hello and welcome to Halftime Report. It's opening and lifetime highs on the Nifty and the Sensex. We've steadily lost ground through the trading session, pretty much at the low point of the day, down 0.5%. All your key heavyweights are Reliance, TCS, even seen good. It's the reason of hitting those lifetime highs in the morning. So even
well, it's a down day after seeing those fresh peaks to kickstart trade. So let's see whether or not we see a recovery at some point of time or not. But first, let's run you through all the top stories at the halfway mark. The market moves to the day's low after opening at record highs. The key indices under pressure from Reliance, TCS and banking heavyweights. The mid-cap index to takes a breather from its rally, falls in line with the frontliners.
Under 45% rise in slippage in HDFC Bank's Q3 earnings casts a shadow on the banking stocks. All stocks see selling pressure. ICICI Bank alone stands tall.
And CNBC TV 18 news break is confirmed. Telecom companies move Supreme Court again seeking relief on the repayment timeline. Lawyers for telcos say there's no plan to file a curative petition at the moment.
IOC and PFC shares under pressure ahead of their exclusion from the Nifty CPSC index shortly. Cochin Shipyard, NMDC, Power Grid and NHPC shares rise ahead of their inclusion.
And L&T Finance leads the mid-cap losers after a disappointing quarter. JNA Axles and Blue Dart too hurt on weak numbers. Chennai Petro rises in a weak market after reporting profits following 2 quarters of losses.
Well, let's drill it down to individual stocks. Girish Pai, the said Nirmal Bang Securities Equities joins in discussing the market. Girish, I wanted to get your thoughts in on a couple of stocks. TCS in particular. This quarter has the expectation for that great. How is it better for FY20? In terms of a growth rate, in terms of a comparison to the rest of its peers?
I think that's what markets worried about. So I think the current expectations of the market is that it's going to deliver in the high single territory in terms of US dollar revenue growth, which I think based on what the is which means that first half by 21 to deliver to current macro conditions, current situation that we have planned the real world, which is about 40%. In the have situation is going to deliver a low mid US dollar growth next year. While margins may so that was one which surprised people on the upside in Q3, and that may kind of hold. The numbers kind of being so I would think that most other have somewhat similar kind of growth. I think even had a issue with internet new orders in Q3 or rather for 9 months for flat problem with next year.
So what are your own estimates? This is post the number for FY21.
So a coverage review as we speak right now. Prior to that, we had a fairly cautious view on the sector. Our view was that we probably see industry showing probably no growth at all. So we were kind of figuring, taking a view that probably some of the companies like TCS and Infosys would have very low single-digit kind of growth. Now, what's happened is that US macro has not been as bad as what we thought initially. So we think that probably US is going to grow in 1.5 to 20% the we kind of anticipating previously. So kind of in the process of remember my sense is from to mid-single kind of territory for these companies, which would mean that have to come. That would mean a lot of stocks.
Girish, what about HCL Tech? You know, for TCS, you've been trading at this premium levels. A little bit of a miss, and the stock gets a bit of a knock. HCL Tech valuation, it has some kind of support. One would expect that stock to open up in the green. It did open up in the green, but from the top, it's seen quite a bit of selling. What's your take on HCL Tech?
Yeah, so I think HCL Tech's 3 numbers also at weak. I think the organic growth not as strong as what one was anticipating. The side, I think, similar VTS and Infosys. I think the management fee last deals $1 billion last deal in FY20 thus far in the 9 months, where they had 2 of them last year in FY19. So if those last deals don't come through, I would think that even organic growth of CNBC could be a bit of a challenge in FY21. So versus the 10-11% growth in organic terms that HCL Tech is going to have in FY19, you may probably see a paring back of that in FY21. Having said that, I think values are kind of factoring that in. The kind of low multiples the company is trading at basically takes into consideration the fact that the consensus is worried about the large investments the company has done in the IP that it's bought from IBM, and the fact that that is not going to deliver any kind of growth or any kind of material return ratios, which we've been kind of more bullish on. I think that piece can potentially deliver, and Q3 did give you some glimpse of what that can happen, what happened there. So they have good wins there, new wins, the quality of wins. So I think it has to unfold. I think once that unfolds, my sense is that you could probably see a fair bit of P multiple expansion in HCL Tech going forward.
Okay, just one more question on HDFC Bank, just shifting focus away from IT. You know, they may continue to gain market share, but what the street is worried is what their quality bodes for the rest of this sector. Would there be any particular banks or companies which you would be now cautious because of what HDFC is delivered in bridges, etc.?
Yeah, so the headline numbers of HDFC Bank look fairly okay, but I think if you dig a little deeper into the internal, I think that's where that come. So you had a situation where you had a 19-20% credit growth on a YOY basis for Q3, but a lot of the growth actually come from the corporate side, which is not what HDFC is known for retail growth.
Thanks, Nimesh, for that. Well, these are the big movers in today's trade, but you also have some stocks reacting to earnings, and one of them is HDFC Bank, where the street is a bit worried about the slippages reported this time around. Abhishek is here with the details. Abhishek?
Well, Rima, it's a mixed set of numbers that have come in from HDFC Bank. So on the positive front, you have the corporate loan growth, which is 26% plus and the highest in last 3 quarters. Net profit has also crossed for the first time in 12 quarters. Low cost deposits have been arrested, which meant that the net interest margin remains, stable at 4.2% versus 4.2% quarter on quarter. On the negative side, that increased the retail loan growth, the weakest at 14.1% YOY. So the net interest income was impacted, and it's at a 14-quarter low net interest income growth, which meant that the operating profit growth was also on the lower side in last 6 quarters. What impact? Loan makes more towards the corporate side, and also more money, RBI at 7.9% of its NDTL, net demand and time liability, 5% average year. So the quality